I'm going to pick up where the last video stopped. And we're going to do this example. This has several things happening. I have -3 amplitude. So that just means we'll be going from, that kind of got cut off. We're going to be going from -3 to +3. That's all that is. And then I have two things in here. I have a H value that shifts it to the right, and I'm changing the period. So in general, we'll go amplitude, take a look at amplitude first, then look at the H value, then look at the period. So I'm going to start with the H value. The H value is pi/2, and it's a positive. We're going to do the opposite sign. So x minus pi/2 means that we're adding pi/2. So I'm going to take my key numbers, 0, 1/2, 1, 3/2, 2, and I'm going to add pi/2 or 1/2 to each of those. So let's add 1/2. So that's 1/2. Add a half there is 1. That's 3/2. That's 2. And then 2 plus a half is 5.5. Or it's 2.5, which is 5/2. And then I'm going to put my pi back in. 1/2 pi, 1 pi, 3 pi/2, 2 pi, 5 pi/2. But then we also changed the period. So look at what you have now. So instead of me going from 0 to 2 pi and then making that adjustment with the angle, my period goes from pi/2 to 5 pi/2. And I'm going to do that with 2x because that's what's in front. The A value there is 2. So I'm going to do that period with 2x. So I'm going to divide everything by 2. So now my period is pi/4 to 5 pi. 2 divided by 2, or both denominators we multiply 5 pi/4. So here's my new period. We've got to make an adjustment. So I'm going to go from pi/4 or 1 pi/4. And let's just go 2 pi/4, which is pi/2 reduced. When you reduce it, 3 pi/4, 4 pi/4, which is just pi, and then 5 pi/4. So I'm just going to go by fourths basically, and then reducing when I can. So I go from pi/4 to 5 pi/4. Now this is sine, but it's negative, so I start at 0. Normally sine goes up and then comes down. This time I'm going to go down, hit here, come up, hit the midpoint, go up, hit the top, come down, and end here, going from 3 to -3. Okay, so just go in order. Do your H, get your new values, and then use those new values to calculate your period. And then just figure out, okay, those are my end points. What's the halfway point? What's the quarter point? What's the 3/4 point? Let's take this one step further, and let's do one that's quite a bit harder, just because of how it's laid out. 2 cosine, amplitude is 2, whatever, that's easy. But now it's 2x plus pi inside parentheses. This is different than the last one, where I had cosine with 2 outside. The 2 outside, put it this way, that's an A value that you're multiplying by the angle. That changes the period. Anything happening inside parentheses changes, how it stretches and shrinks. It's a little different. Now, this 2 is very similar to this 2, but it's definitely different. So how do I deal with something inside the parentheses? Okay, if I'm going inside the parentheses, so again, amplitude is 2. That's easy. That just means I'm going to be going from -2 to +2. Okay, but then here, what happens inside? Now, obviously, H is pi, negative pi. So that means I'm going to be moving. There's more going on there because all of this is inside parentheses. The easiest way to do this is take each key point, and I'll just demonstrate it with 0, and set what's inside the parentheses equal to your key point. So I'll do that again. I'm not going to do it with all of them. You'll get the idea here in a second. So I'll set that equal to 0, set it equal to pi/2, set it equal to pi, and then we're going to solve for x. So that means, what do I do if I'm going to solve for x? I'm going to subtract pi, 2x equals -pi, and then I'm going to divide by 2. So that means my first point is -pi/2. And we're going to do that with each of them. We're going to subtract pi, and Then, so half of pi minus 1 pi is negative 1.5 pi's, or pi over 2. And then I divide by 2. That gives me negative pi over 4. So for all of the key points, and you can do that for each of them, set up a little equation and solve it. Or you can just, once you recognize what's happening, to solve this, I would have to minus pi and then divide by 2. So then set up, here's my key points, 0, 1/2, 1, 3/2, 2. And I'm going to subtract pi from each and then divide by 2. So negative pi divided by 2 is negative pi over 2. And then subtract pi from this, or subtract 1 pi. 1/2 minus 1 is negative 1/2. Divided by 2 is negative 1/4, so it's negative pi over 4. 1 minus 1 is 0, so pi minus pi is 0 divided by 2 is 0. 3/2 minus 1 pi is 1/2 pi, or pi over 2. And then divide that by 2 gives me pi over 4. You can see what's happening. I'm going by fourths. Negative 1/2, negative 1/4, 0, positive 1/4, and this is going to be positive 1/2. I'm going by fourths. So what I have is negative pi over 2, negative pi over 4, 0, pi over 4, and pi over 2. Those are my values. And it's cosine, so I start at the top, get 0 here at the quarter mark, valley in the middle, 0 at the 3/4 mark, back up again. And then that would just keep cycling over that same stuff.